Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by author and headmaster of the Real Astrology Academy, Kevin Burke. Kevin has been counseling and teaching astrology since 1998, and he is going to be talking about what the human game is. He is also the creator of that. So we're going to learn all about the human game and astrology. So, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, sort of what's the biography kind of lays out the lays out the basics. I for many years taught astrology, written a number of astrology books and textbooks, and taught astrology online. And a couple of years ago, developed this thing that became the human game, which is actually a philosophy, which in a weird way kind of helped me to make sense of everything that I was ever doing with astrology, because I never really felt like astrology did what it was supposed to do, and I wasn't really didn't really feel like I was an astrologer. I just didn't know what I was, and I discovered I'm a philosopher. And the human game philosophy is based on the idea that the universe is made up of stories. If everything is a story, when you understand stories, you can understand anything. You can understand astrology, you can understand happiness, you can understand your entire life. And I've been exploring this and figuring out how this works, and creating classes around this, and working with clients with this model, and playing the human game in my own life for about 2 years now. And in the last 2 years, I have had more fun than in the previous 53 years combined. So that's kind of what I've got for an intro.
Okay, so tell us, for those who might not know, explain what astrology actually is, and why you decided to get into astrology.
Well, as most people know, astrology is, it's the signs and the planets, it's your birth chart. The popular view of astrology is that it has to do with your personality. It's a system. It's a way that human beings have always told stories and tried to make sense of the universe. And it's been a part of humanity since literally the very beginning. And I worked with it for many years in a pretty traditional way. I was working with people, doing astrological counseling, helping them to understand themselves better, helping, looking at what the birth chart had to say, and helping them to understand their personality and challenges and opportunities. But astrology never quite delivered on what it promised. It to me always promised, hey, this has got all the answers. This is your birth. If you can just figure out what everything means in your birth chart, then this is the map. This is how you can figure out how to be happy in your life. This is the way that you figure out how to create whatever experiences you'd like to create. And it never quite managed to do that. And I struggled with that for 20 years, and I did a tremendous amount moving how astrology works forward, and developed new systems of teaching it and exploring it, and finally with the human game realized it's not astrology doesn't really do anything. Astrology is a symbolic system that we can use to tell stories, and stories are how human beings understand things. Stories are how we've always used astrology to make sense of the universe. So the thing to understand about how stories work, every story operates on three different levels. There's the plot level, the character level, and the theme level. Most of us pay attention to the plot level. The plot level is the external events. The plot level is what seems to be happening. The title of the plot level story is Just the Facts, Ma'am. And that's where we spend most of our time. We observe the sequence of events. This happened and that happened, and that's how we perceive things. The character level story is what happened to me and how do I feel about it. So there's the external events, which is what we perceive, and then there's what it means to you and how you experience those events. And that's really the most important story, because the story of your life is your character's story. And then there's the theme level. And the theme level is symbolic. The theme level is entirely made up, but it's where we connect to the universe. It's where we explore how each of us as an individual sort of fits in the bigger cosmos. And at the theme level, everything is symbolic, but when you tap into the theme level, that's where you find meaning and purpose in your life. And astrology operates entirely at the theme level. But you need to connect that to make it practical. And that's what I've been doing is, so I say I don't teach astrology anymore. I teach how to tell better astrology stories. Because what astrology is, what it can be, is this customized personal story toolkit that you can use to create whatever story you'd like to live and experience in your life. With astrology, you're never faced with a blank page, which is, as any scariest thing in the world is the blank page. But you can learn how to engage, how to consciously take charge of the story of your life. You can not only experience it from within the story, but you also experience it from the audience, and you also get to, kind of decide where it goes. You get to be in the writer's room, and it's remarkable. As I said, I've never had more fun in my life. I am able to share this with students and clients and show them how to, hey, here's how you can, first of all, build a foundation of happiness. You can figure out how to get to your happily ever after, which is a really nice foundation, because your life continues and you don't have to worry about happiness. And piecing this together with stories, piecing this together with specific stories that are based on your birth chart that you can use. And it's practical and it's fun because, it's a game. And as you get better at playing the game, as you understand how the laws of story work, you can respond to anything that happens in the plot level. Something blows up in your life, in the story game, something like that, a car accident, or you lose your job, or something big happens. That's what's known as an inciting incident. And when you understand how to see the shape of a story, you can, as your podcast goes, you can respond to the curveball, because you can look at it and go, I know what this means. I know what I'm going to make this mean. I know how I'm going to engage with this. Because really, the only law of the human game is the best story wins. And if you can take something and find the meaning in it and find the fun in it, and respond to it in different ways, and it makes for a better story, you get an outcome that you're much happier with, I guess is the best way of putting it.
So talk about the difference between fun, happiness, and joy.
These are related. And this is the thing. Everybody wants to be happy. We want to feel happy. And happy doesn't necessarily mean what we think it means. Happy doesn't necessarily mean you feel good. Happy just means you no longer feel bad. The definition of happiness that I help clients build: happiness is the feeling you experience when you're free from want and you're free from need. So you've got options. You're not driven. There's nothing you have to do. Fun is like the chocolate sprinkles on the top of the ice cream sundae. Fun is always nice. If somebody asks, would you like fun with that? The answer is always sure. Fun on its own is just the chocolate sprinkles without the ice cream. It's not especially nourishing. It's better than nothing. Fun and happy can happen together. They're not necessarily related. And then there's joy. Joy is the really good feeling. Joy is what we think happy is. Joy is the feeling of love. Joy is the feeling of connection. Joy is something that you experience when you connect to the theme level of the story. Happiness is something that happens at the character level because it's inside you. It's a feeling. It's basically how you win the human game. You begin with getting to happy. And then fun is just the point of playing a game. So fun happens at the plot level. Getting what you want can be fun. Going after a goal can be fun, as long as the stakes are low. If you find a way of amusing yourself, and this is it's kind of the first step when you're looking at your story. Let's lower the stakes. Let's find the fun. Because you can always, no matter what situation is going on in your life, you can find some fun. You can find a game in it. You can find something that is amusing or interesting, even if it doesn't necessarily feel great in the moment. And just that gives you options.
So tell us how the human game relates to the law of attraction.
Well, the law of attraction basically states that reality is created by your thoughts. What you hold in mind tends to manifest. And this is absolutely true. And it's very popular, The Secret, and the Abraham Hicks Law of Attraction books. There's a lot of information out there about the law of attraction, and it's all missing some really critical pieces of information. And when you look at the bigger framework of the human game, the law of attraction becomes much more workable. The big fallacy with the law of attraction, and this is something that, and I taught this, I parroted this for 20 years, saying, well, just choose a better thought. Just think something different to change your frequency, and think a better thought. And you can't do that. You can't choose a different thought, because thoughts are not practical. Thoughts are like atoms. They're maybe the most basic building blocks of reality, but they're not the smallest practical unit of reality. The smallest practical unit of reality is a story. You're always telling yourself stories, and stories run on their own, and stories organize and generate thoughts. So when you're trying to change the frequency of your thoughts, you basically got a story that you are telling yourself, which is tuning you to a particular frequency and generating those particular thoughts, which is creating the experience of reality that you may not be particularly enjoying. And you just try to drop in oh no, I want to think positive. You drop in a single thought, and that's it. I mean, the thought, you can hold on to the thought for a second, and then that thought goes away and everything else picks up exactly where it was, because you're engrossed in the story. But if you improve the story, if you tell a better story, then that new story runs on its own. That new story effortlessly generates higher frequency, higher vibration, better feeling thoughts. And that's how you can actually effectively change your frequency, create your reality. And it's also really helpful with the human game because it differentiates between the external plot level story and the internal character level story. Because so much of the law of attraction, when people engage with it, they think, oh, I want to use this to manifest a new car or a new relationship or a new home or a lot of money. And you're focused on trying to create something physical in the external world because you think that is somehow going to create the internal feeling that's going to feel good, which is the only thing you really care about. And when you work within the framework of the human game and you begin to realize the difference between the external plot level story and the internal character level story, it's easier to go, all I care about is the better feeling. I don't need this. I don't need a new car. I don't need a new relationship. I don't need any of these external things. I can set the intention for them. I can say it would be nice to pursue that. But it's more powerful, it's more effective engaging with the law of attraction, where it's not about creating that tangible thing. It's about getting to the feeling that you're hoping to experience. And it is possible, getting what you want doesn't make you happy. You can get what you want and not be happy. But you can also get what you want and be happy. They're just separate things. So when you learn to focus on being happy and the strategies of the human game, you can do both. I mean, I basically say, look, I'm going to, there's no reason you can't get everything you've ever wanted. It's just, getting that's not going to make you happy. But hey, we can look at the story. We can look at the strategies. We can put together a plan where you're going to have a single strategy that you're going to follow that is going to have the best possible chance of not only helping you to get what you want, helping you to manifest the things that you'd like to activate the law of attraction to create for you, and you're going to be happy with the result.
Okay, so tell everybody about your books and tell us where we can get them and what we can expect when we read them.
Okay. Well, right now the main book that I have, the printed edition will be out in June, is the textbook for the astrology class. So if you're interested in learning the astrology behind the human game, learning how to tell better astrology stories, I have a class and a textbook called Astrology and the Human Game Foundations of Happiness. That is right now primarily for people that are interested in astrology. You don't need to have any background in astrology. It's a lot simpler than you might think. And that information and that class is available at learnthehumangame.com. And then if you're interested in experiencing this for yourself, if you're interested in just learning, creating a happiness GPS based on your birth chart so that you can actually navigate from where you are now to happy, if you go to playthehumangame.com, I've got an introductory video there, and that's where you can learn about the coaching packages. And there's also a free class about the human game that you can sign up for that give you a little bit more of an information with some fun visuals and explore how stories work and all.
Okay, well, tell us about some of the upcoming projects that you're working on that everybody needs to know about.
Well, as I said, right now the main thing is I do have a few openings right now for new coaching clients. I'm the only coach right now, so when my schedule fills up, there's a wait list. But I'm working with people one-on-one over Zoom. I've got clients literally around the world experiencing the human game, and that's at playthehumangame.com. The first in a series of astrology classes to learn how to tell better astrology stories has been launched. The digital version of the textbook is included with the class. The book itself is in final edits and it will be available mid-June, both on my website and on Amazon. And I have 3 more astrology classes and textbooks planned, and several other uh, non-specifically astrology books about the human game. Um, my next couple of years are pretty solidly booked up. But the main opportunities right now, if you go to playthehumangame.com, there's a free series of videos that you can register, and I'm creating new ones in that series. It's the Human Game Introduction class, and you can work with me one-on-one. You can learn about the coaching program, and I can basically help you to build a happiness GPS. And it's going to give you turn-by-turn directions to the best possible outcome in any situation.
All right, well, you just answered my next question about throwing out your website. So close us out with some final thoughts, maybe something that I forgot to touch on that you would like to talk about, or just any final thoughts you have for the listeners.
I if anything about this intrigues you, if the idea that the story of your life could be better than anything that you can find right now on Netflix, if that intrigues you, if the idea that you could take charge of your life and really do almost anything interests you in any way, check this out. There's so much to this. It's the intro videos I have are a little more coherent, and they've got some nice visuals. And this is, I call it a game because it's a game. Games are optional. You play them because they're fun. The human game, it's portable, it's gluten free, and it's carbon neutral. There's really no downside, and it's a way to really find the fun in your life right now. And if any of that is intriguing to you, uh, I'd love to help you experience it.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. PlayTheHumanGame.com. Be sure to check out everything that Kevin's up to. Check out his books, check out his courses, and keep up with everything that he's up to. Please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this to anybody you know that would be interested in everything that Kevin's up to. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, see Jackson102 at Cox.net is the best place to send them. Thank you for listening, and thank you for joining us, Kevin.
Thank you so much for having me.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.